Hey, folks, welcome back to Manor Road, home of the Alive podcast. I'm Dale, and most of you remember yesterday I said that I was going to post something on Facebook that said, um, share. Let me just read it here. Next podcast question: if you only had 1 hour to share your religion, faith, or ideology, what would you say? I will respect everyone's attention. Now, before I get to that, I always put a message of the day on Facebook. So hopefully you're subscribing to my channel, Dale Childress. But today's message was authentically expand your love to include the marginalized. The more you allow love to permeate through you, the better your heart will feel. I think that's so cool. Now, most of you know there's a lot of podcasts, there's a lot of YouTube channels out there. But this one, what makes this one different, this is totally raw, totally unedited, totally live. I'm not doing any retakes. So when I stumble, I just stumble. So I think that's kind of cool. So, this is what you're getting, is kind of what I'm thinking. So anyway, I'm going to read some of the comments that people said. One guy said, Baptist, life too short to worry about little stuff. Love, laugh, respect your elders, treat others how you want to be treated. Kill others with kindness. If that doesn't work, pray hard about it. One said the golden rule. Another is always be thankful for God's blessings. If you're alive and breathing, there is a reason. I try to live my life pleasing God because that's what He wants from me. I often fail, but He loves me anyway. I will trust in His plan for me. When I try for something, I know He can help and trust Him either way. Another one says, I would love to start with how wonderful our dear Lord has been to me and my family. Another one says, I would simply say, thank you, Jesus. Let me look for one more here. Plainly stated, I'm a Shriner. The Lord's Prayer. Realize that people are your greatest treasures and don't lose out on the joy of today by living in regret of what you don't have. Love and care for what and who you have. Another one, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Only through Him can we have salvation. All right. Obviously, that struck a chord with Christians. I kind of wanted to go deeper in that because I've lived my life on both sides of the fence. I've been a devout atheist. I've been a Christian. I still consider myself a Christian, but I also have some atheistic traits. Now, for clarity, and this is very, very, very important, theism simply means I believe in a God that, for simplicity's sake, is involved in my life, hears me, knows me, believes in me, loves me. An atheist simply does not believe theism, does not believe, for me especially, does not believe that I have to have a belief in a triune God to have moral and ethical behavior. With that being said, I kind of wanted to hear more of people's deep rooted thoughts, not necessarily just hearing from people that are good Christians, because I think most people are good regardless of whether they're Christian or not. But over the course of the last probably 5 to 8 years, I've done a lot of work in religion recovery, meaning for whatever reason, people left their church. And some would say, well, if you leave your church, that's on you. I don't think people realize that there are times when church and people in church truly hurt people. Granted, the social aspect of church shares tremendous love. And over this several months of the pandemic, I have been amazed at the outreach that churches have had, especially right here in my community in Tennessee. They've done more than you could have asked. I mean, they really, really, really stepped up. So for the social aspect, I am a believer in belonging to a church. Where I stumble is, what would you call it? Belonging to a religion. I don't necessarily need doctrine or dogma for me to be loving, kind, moral, or ethical. Those things aren't a prerequisite for me to be something else. And a lot of people go, well, we're born inherently with love. I'm not necessarily saying we're not. But if you look over the course of human history, love has evolved. I mean, there were times in history when people tormented and tortured others in the name of religion, in the name of God. Well, hell, it's still going on. I mean, it still happens. It still happens right here in America. We weaponize God. We weaponize the Bible. We weaponize the Book of Mormon. We weaponize the Torah or whatever book you may or may not believe in. And it's things like that that I stumble with. I probably have read and know as much about theology, the history of the church, as probably most people listening to this. So I don't need an education on theology. What I'm wanting to get out of people is what makes them spiritually and emotionally tick. What are the thoughts you lay down with at night that you hold close to your heart and won't share with others? That's the thing. You see, when I was first diagnosed with terminal cancer, naturally you think about, wow, what happens next? What happens when we cross the rainbow? Sure, we've all heard that, well, I'm going to heaven. I don't know what you're going. But there's so many more things that people with terminal illness think about that they don't talk about. It's kind of odd in a free society. You would think that for the most part, we have freedom of speech to open these discussions, but most people shut down the discussions by basically, you need to pray harder, you need to believe more, you need to have faith. That's probably the one that I struggle with the most. When you use the term faith, I've always been a believer that extraordinary claims should require extraordinary proof. Just because somebody reads a book and says, well, you should believe in this, for a lot of people, that's enough. For me, I dig and I dig and I dig and I want more. So this is a great topic that we can continually expand on. In the meantime, I agree with so many people that wrote in, let's authentically love people. Let's kill people with kindness. Those are the traits and the attributes to me that's going to make a difference in the world in the days and months and years to come. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up. And like always, I really, really, really care about your opinion. And like I said earlier, this is raw. This is unedited. You're basically hearing my thoughts at the moment. Now, 5 minutes from now, I may go, God, I wish I hadn't said that, or I wish I'd have said this. But for the moment, what you heard is what you got. Now, remember ALIVE, what it stands for: authentic, love, imagination, victor, and evolve. And over the course of the next few how longs, we're going to continue to go over each one of those to make sure that you have a chance to be victorious in your life and evolve to the greatest person you can possibly be. So until tomorrow, look forward to seeing you again. I'm Dale, checking out.